Hi folks, and welcome to their Saturday Morning Samoflange. I'm Matt, and I'm by myself. It's my fault, really. I just haven't had time to record this. I'm, of course, doing one of my last-minute recordings here. Would love to have Benjamin here, but it's totally my fault, not his, that he's not here. And he will be back to join us with more awesome topics. So, in between that time, I have come up with my own little topic that I had forgotten about. I had to double check to see if I've ever mentioned this before. And it was an idea I had, and I didn't write it down. And if I don't write it down, I am destined to forget it. That has always been the case. My wife and I have gone to the grocery store, and we've gotten a ton of things, but the one thing we really needed, like toothpaste, we forgot to write down. If we forgot to write down, no matter how bad we needed, I mean, we had gone without toothpaste for a few days. I was squeezing that too. We were brushing with baking soda, for crying out loud. And so we knew we needed toothpaste. And we got everything but toothpaste because I forgot to write it down. And if I forget to write it down, like toilet paper, oh my goodness. We were down to 2 rolls for the past 2 weeks, and thankfully I've been at work doing my business instead of at home, and saved us some toilet paper there. But at the same time, every time I use the restroom at my own house, I was like, oh, we're running out of toilet paper. Why do I keep forgetting? So until I finally wrote it down, that's when I finally remembered. And I mean, for me, writing things down is essential. I have a little notepad. I have several notepads. Over the years, I collected tons of notepads. In fact, true story, up until just a few years ago, one of the notepads that I had bought and started using in 1999, I finally finished, about 20 years later, really. That thing lasted 20 years just because there are so many little sheets, and I used every square inch of a sheet before I'd throw it away. Now, of course, you're thinking, well, Matt, you didn't take that many notes. No, because I didn't have that little, they weren't Post-it notes back then. They were just like sheets of paper you just pulled off of a block or something, and so I just used that. And now I'm just using up all the little sheets of paper those little, tear-offs, OneNotes things that I have a ton of in my cabinets just over the years, getting them and collecting them over the years. And I have plenty. So I've gotten to, at the very beginning, I used to write them down. That's how I wrote down my notes for Matt's Expanded Universe, and definitely for Defending the EU. I wrote those on my notes too. But basically, any piece of paper I could get, I'd write things down. And I still write a lot of things down today. Unfortunately, I don't always have that little pad next to me. I try to use one complete pad. I'm using one right now that I have had since the year 2000. Obviously, right? I used the one from 1999. Now I'm on the one from the year 2000. Now I'm going through it at a lot faster pace because I also use it to write down my board game instructions. I watch a video, write down the highlights, basically set up, starting resources, and just a short reminder of the rules in case there's a tricky rule that I may forget later on, and I can explain to my group. So I've been using them a whole heck of a lot more, but still, there's like 900, little Post-it notes on one block. So it's going to take a while to go through these. I don't want to ever waste them too, because I use front and back. And sometimes I can't find it too, so then I'll have to use some other piece of scratch paper, which I've had to do from time to time, or I'll have it at work and I'll be like, oh, I need to write this down, because if I don't write it down, I'll forget it. Well, this idea circled back around to me. This is top 5 movie replicas I wish we could get. I originally had this idea years ago when going to all these Comic Cons with Megan. I would see every once in a while a replica of something. I'd be like, that is cool. And they make replicas of everything these days. And there are several different types of replicas I wish I had. Like the ones that didn't make my list would be like Han Solo's gun. I've seen that before. Or what is kind of neat to have, but it doesn't look that cool, is a Chris knife from Dune. They make those. They're not very impressive looking, but they're supposed to be as authentic as the book tells it. They just don't look that cool, and I don't think anyone, just by looking at it, would understand what exactly it is. That is neat to have, and I love Dune, but I knew eventually that I want to have something that, I'd be proud of to have in my collection, and if you saw it, you'd be like, oh, I know what that is. And then you'd be like super cool, because we'd be like in a super secret club where we knew what it was. I don't have many of those. The thing that I'm proudest of is basically Megan has it. It's hers. It's a TV replica of the I Dream of Genie bottle. She got an authentic recreation of the I Dream of Genie bottle signed by Barbara Eden herself. To be honest, that is super, super cool. Barbara Eden was a super nice woman, and my wife could have gotten a color that they come in different colors, but she wanted the color exactly as it was in the TV show. And so this bottle used to sit out on our coffee table before we had kids, somewhere else where it wouldn't be broken. And we used to bring it out in various spots. Now, to this day, it sits out there, but no one knows what it is. Now, the thing is, I don't mind that because, who's going to remember an old 60s show from, a comedy from the 60s? Plus, even if you look at it, I don't know. You'd have to be in the right frame of mind to get what that is. Kind of looks like a decorative bottle. But once you say I Dream of Genie, instantly you go, oh my gosh, that's the bottle. Now, I think, I'll have to ask my wife this, but I think inside it, the guy even put like a miniature room with a little model. Remember how she had that little kind of bedroom or nice big sofa with all the pillows inside of it? I think that's in there, but I'll have to ask her. So you can look in the bottle and see a miniature genie. These things cost a pretty penny, but the guy was he gave a great attention to detail. He was a huge I Dream of Genie fan. And I'll be honest, it was really nice. And that was a purchase that my wife made that is really cool. And I always liked that we had it, sitting randomly on the table just to see. And like I said, to this day, no one's gotten it. No one's gotten the joke. But that's the type of items that I'd love to have around the house. Now, some of you may be picking, I'd pick Captain America's shield or Thor's hammer or Wolverine claws or a ring from Green Lantern and stuff. And yeah, that stuff's all cool. But when I look at this, I need to make sure before I say anything, do I have any superhero memorabilia? Kind of. Yeah, I kind of do have something. But mine are extremely random. I think this is an extremely random list, probably the most random I've ever had. And even if I had Benjamin on here, we would have zero crossover. If I had Mikey on here, CJ on here, we would have zero crossover. This is such a huge topic. And what I like is totally different from other people. Here's another one. It's a random reference to a movie I absolutely love, Krampus. Came out a few years ago, I think 2017 or something. It's a fantastic kind of Christmas horror movie. Now, if you're not into horror, don't worry. It's a I don't know. It's not really that scary. Even though it's dark and it's neat. It has a lot of humor in it, but it's not really horror, blood everywhere and stuff like that, or super jump scares. There are some freaky things, but imagine Jim Henson's Dark Crystal, like a little unnerving at times, and they use real puppets and mascots instead of CGI, which is really cool. And it really is just an incredible story. I love Krampus, and I've watched it the past few years, I think every year. It's almost like a tradition, like the Grinch, now that I think about it, because I'm always introducing this to someone new. It seems like every year when I say, have you ever seen Krampus? They're like, no. I say, okay, let's watch it. Well, one of the other secrets is when I'm watching it during the Christmas season, my Christmas tree is up. And if you pay close attention to my Christmas tree, this is the one movie replica I have and I'm proud of. There is a Krampus bell in the movie, which spells basically impending doom upon you and your family, your loved ones. Because Krampus has already been there and basically destroyed your life. And he gives you this little bell after it's over. And I found a replica of the bell online. I thought, man, did they make this? And they did. And I bought it. It's really heavy, feels just like the one in the movie. Looks just like it too, with the weird inscription on it. It says Krampus or whatever in the foreign or Latin tongue or whatever. And so I put it on my tree, and proudly I display it on my tree, but no one gets the joke. And I'm fine with that because it's something that I love. And if someone were to say, holy cow, is that from the movie? They would be my friend. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm looking at here. Stuff that people would look at, and if they got, that'd be awesome. But if they didn't, it'd kind of be like a hidden Easter egg in my house. Now, to be honest, I know 1, 2, probably 3, maybe all of these exist, but one, I think. But here's how the whole situation, but I forgot about this because I was at a con. I forgot to write it down. If I forget to write it down, I forget to make it a subject of Saturday Morning Samoflange. And so I forgot to make it a subject. And then years later, I was actually years later, but then eventually last week, I was watching a movie with my little girls, and I thought, oh, that'd be kind of neat to have one. I wonder if anyone's ever made that. And I said, oh, no one's made this replica? Oh, that's too bad. And then I thought, oh, wait. Top 5 Samoflange movie replicas. Have I done that before? Because I remember thinking that'd be a good idea, and I checked, and I don't think it has, or at least I didn't see it in the 200 plus episodes we've done. But I did a kind of quick once-over to see, but I don't think we ever did this, and I don't remember doing it, but I remember thinking about it at that Comic-Con and just forgetting about the topic later on. So, that is a long-winded story before I get to my top 5. But it's just me today, so I have some time to kill, right? So, my number 5, and by the way, I think I only wrote down 5. I don't see any honorable mentions here. Usually if something by myself, I write down honorable mentions. But when I get to 5, I did an online search to see if there was anything else that I wanted. And there isn't. There's some really cool stuff, but usually whatever I write down first always gets in my top 5. I mean, there is a chance where 1 or 2 might get bumped. Sometimes when a guest reminds me of something, or a search sometimes will bump something off my list. But usually the top 5 that come to my mind tend to be the top 5 that I'm going to go with. So that's what I'm going to go with today. Now, the first one was from this movie I watched with my girls. Yes, it was the Ewok movies. We watched them. My little girls absolutely love them. They're sleeping with their Ewoks right now. You ask them what they want to watch, and they say Ewoks. You know, that's my girls there. That's my girls. So Daddy can't wait to when he can bring out the children's Ewok books and start reading that to them. Because that's how it'll be their option whether they want to read Star Wars books with their old man years later. But hey, why not show them? If they love Ewoks, maybe I could read 1 or 2 stories to them now. I don't know. But in a few years, in a few short time, I'll be able to read some of these stories to them. Hopefully they'll enjoy them and then ask for more. So my plan for the expanded universe is to get them all to read the children's books, and then go to young adult books, then go to the big novels where I'm reading to them every night. I at least, even if it's not Star Wars, I do want to read them a story every night, a couple of chapters or something before they go to bed. That was a tradition that my dad had started with us. I absolutely loved it. So I want that for my kids. I think my brother has also done this as well with his kids. But it's an awesome tradition. I want to keep it going with my girls, whether it be expanded universe or not. I don't care. But watching these Ewok movies, I saw Sindel Tatwani and the Tatwani family have these little life monitors on their wrist. And basically, it's just something that lights up different colors, red, yellow, green, and I guess the other color was blue. I think it may have been orange or yellow. Red, yellow, green, and purple. I don't know what the other color was now that I think about it. But I know there were 4 in the family, so there were 4 different colors. And when someone dies, that color goes away. So I thought, surely some Star Wars fan, some big Star Wars nerd, has made a life monitor, and I can buy one, like on Etsy or something. And I was prepared to. I was like, that is just such a cool thing to have, a life monitor. I wouldn't really wear it that much, but I'd have it around the area. Because as you know, in the first movie, well, you may not know, but in the first Ewok movie, they find a life monitor, just kind of on the collar of a dead beast of Endor. So I could just have the life monitor kind of over to the side and see if anyone would get it. And then they'd really be a nerd, right? Because they've seen the Ewok movies too. But I don't know, man. I just think having a life monitor, and that's the only thing, by the way, on this list that has not been created yet. I wonder if there's someone with the ability to design one right now who's listening goes, I'll show you, Matt. I'll make a life monitor and send it to you. No, really, I really hope that happens. I really hope you send me a life monitor. That works. Don't send me just some fake one with painted, colors on there. Weak sauce. I want the real deal. I knew one lady who probably could make that. She's very talented. She makes exquisite cosplay costumes. In fact, her husband back then, she made a Predator outfit that looked really, really good. Like it was like Dragon Con cosplay worthy. And I was just very impressed by that. And actually, a long time ago, I was going to commission her, and she was looking into it for me, even though it was going to cost a pretty penny. I said, no, let's do it. Because she thought she could do it, was an C-3PO costume. I'd never seen a real, live, good C-3PO costume. And she was pretty sure, she said it'd be kind of expensive, though, getting the chrome and getting the LED lights for the lights and figuring out how you can look out of those. But she said she looked up and saw a few plans of some people who put together some stuff, and she could probably figure it out. And, not to, because it was all going to go on top of me, so I was going to have to lose some super weight, too, because I didn't want it to be a human size C-3PO, even though it's going to be a 6'3" C-3PO, which I'm sure that's not his actual height in the movie. But I was prepared to get super thin for this, too. So it would look the same, slender frame that Anthony Daniels had for it. Because, anything for the cause, right? Because you can see R2-D2s, but I've never seen a great C-3PO cosplay. And to be the first person to have an awesome C-3PO costume, I'd be the belle of the ball, if you know what I mean. Or the beau of the ball, I guess is what it is. But alas, I don't talk to her anymore. I think she could create a life monitor if she looked into it, but it's not worth all that trouble. So let's move on to number 4. Number 4 is one that got me started on this trip. When I saw it at the Comic-Con, I was like, yeah, I want that. Now, the missus was completely against this, and you'll find out why in just a moment. It is the Hellraiser puzzle box. Yeah, they sell them. It's just a box. I don't think it actually works. But I loved Hellraiser. In college, I watched these. My nephew was my cousin was a huge Hellraiser fan. He watched all the direct-to-DVD sequels with me. Some of them weren't bad. Some of them were garbage. It was usually just a flip of the coin. Some were okay. Most of them, I say most. There was 4 or 5 that went straight to video, I think, before what's-his-face stopped being Pinhead. I want to say there's 9 total, maybe. So maybe there was 5 extra. 4 went to theaters, I think, and then 5 went to DVD. Of those, 2 were pretty good. 1 was so-so, and 2 were crap, if I recall right. But he would always watch them with me. He would always watch the latest Hellraiser, and we'd grade it good or bad. And that puzzle box, man, I absolutely thought it was awesome. And I love that puzzle box. And so I think having that on the shelf somewhere, if someone got the joke, don't touch it, is what I'd tell them. But I think that'd be really cool. And when I showed it to my wife, I said, check this out. Because it was for sale. I remember the vendor was selling those little cubes. You basically just kind of put them together. I think it was just 4 pieces that connected. But I was like, I would buy this. And my wife's like, no, that's not going in our house. But I think that'd be like a cool little thing to put up on the mantle and see if anyone knows what it is. And if so, to totally freak out about it. Now, my number 3 is very exclusive. It's so random. Let me make sure. This is the only one from a TV show. So I have life monitors from a TV movie. Hellraiser puzzle box is from a movie. I have a second one from a movie. So this is the only one. Yeah, this is the only one from a TV show. And not only a TV show, but a game show. Now, game shows had special prizes or special rewards all the time. Kids' game shows had really cool stuff. My wife used to watch Legends of the Hidden Temple, I think. One of those activity search through the temple, find as many tokens as you can, or keys. And so I know someone makes those homemade tokens from the game show, and that's not what I want. What I want is a game show that's in the UK called Crystal Maze. I am right now currently watching through the seasons of Crystal Maze. My friend Luke from Down from the Attic YouTube channel, I talk to him regularly, and one day we just started talking about this show called The Crystal Maze and how awesome it was as a kid. And I was like, shut up, no way, let me check this out, because I used to love the little game shows like that. And that came out in 1990, and I don't know, you can see them on YouTube, and they are amazing. It's just a group of people, young and old, who are working as a team to go into these 4 different worlds. It's one huge set, and it's just a beautiful set with 4 different worlds, where they're going into these 4 different lands and solving certain puzzles. Is it a physical puzzle? Is it a mental puzzle? Is it a, whatever, mystery puzzle or whatever? And they go into this room and they have to figure out or do the activity in a certain amount of time to get what looks like to be a little crystal ball. Now these little crystal balls actually have a flat bottom so that they can stand wherever they are in any of the various traps or puzzles you have to figure out. Well, the actual company that made and furnished Crystal Maze balls for the Crystal Maze, they sell replicas. And of course, it's over in the UK, and it would cost kind of a pretty penny to get one. But me watching the show, I'm like, I would want one. Now, it looks just like a regular crystal glass paperweight. That's all it would be to a lot of people. In fact, if I saw one, I might think that was a crystal that looks similar to the Crystal Maze, but I don't think there's anything on it. Now, the original ones have "You survived the Crystal Maze," and etched into the crystal. These don't. They're just the same diameters and weight and everything. These are the same ones they supplied to the game show. So you just have like a nice little paperweight. I don't think anyone outside of my buddy Luke or some keen observers from the UK would get this. But after watching this show, I'm like, yeah, I really would like to have one. I really would like to have one. I mean, you're looking at 15 pounds plus shipping to the US. I can't remember what it ended up being. I think close around $40 or something, which is kind of expensive to pay for a crystal ball from the Crystal Maze. And because I know they're tiny, they can fit within the palm of your hand. They're not huge. They're like, to my estimates, they're a little bit smaller than a tennis ball, slightly smaller, but a little bit larger than a golf ball. I don't know. It's in between those two sizes there. Is the best I can reckon. But regardless of that, this is me just making a top 5 list. So Crystal Maze, a crystal ball from the Crystal Maze would be awesome. My number 2 comes from a movie, and it is the Neverending Story. The actual book, Neverending Story, with the cover and everything. I don't know where it is today. I'm sure it's in one of my various boxes because I can't imagine I'd ever throw it away. But the one and only time I had an iPad, I found an iPad case that made it look like I was holding the book, The Neverending Story. The cover looked just like it was leather with the metal insignia of the 2 snakes and everything. It looked just like the cover from the original movie. I absolutely cherished it. I didn't really like the iPad, but I carried it around anyway just because it was in a cool carrying case, if that makes any sense. And I remember there was one person that I went to go visit, just on a whim. I went to go visit him, and I had the iPad. I brought it in from the car to show him something. And before I opened it up, he went, "Is that the Neverending Story book?" And I went, "Oh, yeah, it's my cover for iPad." He's like, "That's the coolest thing in the world." I was like, "I can't believe you knew that." He said, "Oh, man, I love Neverending," because he's older than me, but his son is huge into Neverending Story, and his son is way younger than me. It's like a 10-year difference, or, oh, geez, he may be 20-year difference from me. I don't know. Either way, though, there's a big different age gap in between all of us. So I was like, wow, that is crazy to think about. And but he was the only one that recognized that. Now, eventually, of course, my iPad was trash. I got rid of it. And I'm positive I kept that cover. And I'm sure it's somewhere within the various boxes I packed from my apartment. Or maybe, I think I was married to Megan by then. So it's probably still, it may be in this closet here. But to take everything down and shift through it is not really something I want to do right now. But I'm sure I still have it. I just want to know where. Either way, I'd like an actual book, The Neverending Story. Just to kind of have around the house. Just have open. What a nice coffee table book that would be, right? Now, I don't know if anyone would get it. But again, I don't care. I just think it'd be cool to have. And then shockingly, I'm going to go ahead and name my number 1 because my number 1 comes from a video game. Now, if you know me, I don't play video games anymore. I stopped playing years ago. Arkham Origins, whenever that came out, 2012 or whatever, that was the last time I ever played a video game. And every once in a while on my laptop, I'll play like a little, cheesy little game, or I don't even play games on my cell phone, really. I just don't play video games that much. I'm not into video games. But there's a game from the Arkham series. There's a little trope from the Arkham series I'd love to have a replica of. And I don't think anyone's really made one. I see some online, but I don't know if there's any for sale. But I always thought it'd be super cool to have a Riddler Trophy from Arkham City. The Riddler trophies were little puzzles or little things you had to do in order to, you had to make certain achievements, skill achievements with Batman in order to claim one of these. Of course, if you claimed enough, you discovered where the Riddler was. He is my favorite Batman villain ever, and I think Arkham City is the only game to do him right. I really didn't like Arkham Asylum, how he just got busted by the police over the radio when he was on the phone with you. I mean, when he was on the radio with you. That was really dumb. But getting to actually get the Riddler yourself was very nice. And having to do it through a puzzle was, of course, fitting for the Riddler. But those Riddler trophies, they're just these little neon glowing question marks, you know, under a nice, it looks like a, what do they call them? Steampunk, you know, trophy case, it looks like. So with all the gears and wires and metal and rusted metal and stuff. And I just think that'd be cool. Maybe to have as a light or a lamp or something. Now, the thing is, I don't want one that plugs in. I want one that's probably battery operated, right? I know that wouldn't be as cool, but it has to stand on its own, has to glow. And I'd love to just plant that thing around my house just in different sections until someone saw it and goes, what is that? Now, this, out of all my items, I think would be the most recognizable because everyone loves video games, and I'd still think the Arkham City games or Arkham series of games are still popular today. Are still recognizable, I should say, today. So I think out of all the items I just listed, the Riddler Trophy would be among the first people would be able to spot and recognize. A long time ago, I even wanted to cosplay as the Riddler. But the day before, like on a Friday or something when it's kind of dead, go to a lot of tables that don't really get that many guests and make them a deal. If they'll participate in my Riddler game, then I will bring people to their table. You know, bringing people to your table is one thing. That's nice. So maybe they agree to help me play this game. And what I was going to do was leave. You can buy business cards for like 100 of them for, or 1,000, 500 of them for like, $20? So I said, well, I'll spend, $100, buy 5 different business cards, all with the emblem, the green question mark, and then on the other end, possibly in green writing too, why not go green here, or black writing, I don't know, give them a riddle. Basically, I hand out the first 500, and then the other 500 are kept at these various tables around the Comic Con. And so you'd have to look at the clue and say, okay, where do I go to see this? And maybe, because you can find question mark stickers, right? Or you can maybe make a question mark sticker. Maybe even place it discreetly on that table. So if anyone saw it, they know it was the Riddler's table. And so as they were coming up and maybe talking, they could hand that card in to whoever it was, and in exchange, they would give them the next Riddler's clue. And it would keep going until someone found the ultimate prize, which I don't know what it would be, but maybe a gift card or something. I just think it'd be fun to do that. I mean, sure, I wouldn't be benefiting from it. I just think it'd be a fun game. And me as the Riddler, in the Riddler costume, starting the game off and saying, did you finally find it? Let me know. Maybe they send me a text message and I can congratulate them, riddle me this, and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think that'd be a really cool game to play at a Comic-Con. I think people would love that because after you've looked at everything, you're just kind of aimlessly wandering around, right? You don't want to leave because there's still, you feel like you're missing out on the action. You paid for all day, but you don't have anything to do really all day besides look at vendors and maybe go some Q&As. But if you're also trying to, solve the Riddler's clues, it makes it a little extra special at a Comic-Con. And I think a game like that would be wildly popular. Now, I don't know if that'll ever come to fruition. Of course, my girls had to be grown, enough to walk on their own and behave on their own if Daddy's going to dress up as the Riddler and play a stupid game. But I think it would be cool. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Now, as Comic-Cons are coming back, who knows? I mean, we're not going to go to any anytime soon. But either way, I just think that'd be a cool idea. I'm a big fan of the Riddler, if you haven't already noticed that. But I'm almost positive there's certain tables I know. I pegged certain tables. I said that guy would definitely participate in this. Because, of course, they'd want people coming to their table, and I'd make it themed, I'd make it comic book artist or, independent artist or maybe an old DC artist or something like that who can also say, hey, you want to buy this, you want to buy that. Maybe inside the album is the next clue. The Riddler clue is in there. I don't know. And then anyone who didn't meet the Riddler could join in, because they could be limited to 500. But that's, even though there's, tens of thousands of people who show up to these Comic Cons, I think a riddle that, had 500, can test 500 people potentially looking for it, because I just pass them out randomly to people. And if they wanted to begin the search for the riddle, and win the prize, then, that I think that'd be a fun game for them to play. I don't know. Anyway, I'm rambling now. But, folks, that's it for now. I'll see you next time on another Saturday Morning Samoflange.